Turn your phones off if you got them. You weren't supposed to bring them in anyway, but we do. Okay. Close enough. Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to our February 2012 meeting. Looks like we've got some interesting folks here tonight. We'll flesh it out here in a little while. First item is the approval of the January 3rd, 2012 meeting minutes. Second. We got the motion, couple, any discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. We'll raise your hand, we'll raise your hand. Get some. Okay. We're gonna go ahead. It's not 7:05. Okay, Theresa, Ann, come on up here. Come do your bagging. Yeah. Good to see you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Ann Hyder and myself, both of us, are co-chairs this year for the Franklin Folk Festival. And as we come before you every year to request for street closure, this year we are again coming before you to ask that we close the roads. We would like to close Iola Street and Phillips Street like we always have in the past, starting at 5 p.m. on Friday, and have them closed through Saturday. Our festival will be over at 4. However, for people to take down, we're assuming we're going to be till 5. You guys, whenever you're closing for picking whatever they want, that's between you and them. So we would really like to have those two streets in particular closed until 5 p.m. on Saturday. This year, one thing that we're requesting differently is after we had our festival last year, we surveyed all of the downtown businesses and we asked them about the possibility of closing Main Street. And overwhelmingly, they were in support of us closing Main Street. So one thing in addition we would like to request this year is on Saturday, the 21st of July, which is the day of the festival, to have Main Street closed from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. like you do in the past. I think you do that for the other festivals, for Pumpkin Fest and maybe Trail Days. We were requesting that you close Main Street right below Ruby City Gym so that they can be included in the activity, and block off there all the way to Harrison Avenue, because this year, in coordination with the festival, we're having the 100th anniversary of the Franklin Fire Department. And Justin is here in case you needed more information on that. But they're hoping to be able to put fire trucks, the old antique fire trucks, along that end of Main Street as well. So in the letter that we submitted to you on January 19th, those are the road closures that we requested. One other item that we are asking for your consideration, and at least possibly for you to endorse if at all possible, is a safety concern that we have with rerouting the traffic and going down Church Street. There is a concern because of the poor man's supper that the Masons have, in addition to Tartan Hall, which we will be using this year for our inside, all of our inside exhibits. We're concerned about traffic, pedestrian traffic trying to cross Church Street. So we were asking for your support or consideration in trying to have either a police officer or someone from the town to help monitor a crosswalk that would be a designated crossing spot because of the safety issue that we have.
All right. Good presentation. Board, have any problems with closing the streets?
There's nothing positive from the monkeys.
Nothing but positive.
When we posted. It's always been a positive.
Any motions? Absolutely. Bob makes a motion, Sissy seconds, that we close the streets according to Teresa's schedule. All. Well, we certainly need to talk to the police department. Of course, we probably have a new improvements in the department, but yes, we absolutely, don't you think that we need to be mindful that there's going to be a lot of traffic that get around there?
I think too, if we vote this, we have a while
endorsement of the fact that we're trying to think ahead and
Right.
taking care of our pedestrian and traffic.
Exactly. Okay, we got a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? You got it. Thank you.
And Joe, could I, Mayor Collins, could I say one other thing, please? We have always appreciated your support of the Aldermen, and of course, your support also being the man of the hour when you're dressed up as the sheriff or whatever you are that day. I don't know what's called back then, but we would like to extend again an invitation. Please be looking for a letter to come your way, again inviting all the elected officials to participate in our welcome ceremony on Saturday, and to be followed by the corn shucking contest. So we would appreciate again your support and your willingness to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we'll move on now to public hearing for the William Knief rezoning request. Is anybody at all here or know anything I'm talking about on the public hearing for William Knief, K-N-E-I-F, rezoning request? Yes, sir.
You just said, anybody here that knew about it, I'm just.
Okay, what do you want to tell us about it?
No, I just want to see how this works. I may want to do it to my lot too.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to be heard pro or con on this one? Then we'll call the public hearing closed and go back into open session. What does the board think? Rezone?
I make a motion that we rezone.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. And we're a little ahead of schedule still. What about this number 8? We're gonna forward Ferrell Gas special use application to the planning board? All in favor, raise your hand. We'll take care of that one. What about this Ford Collins Lane Group rezoning request to the planning board? Yeah, wherever that is. You got a motion from Billy and a second from Sissy. All in favor, raise your hands. Okay. Let's, all right. We'll go ahead and get started here. It's close enough to 7:10. Somebody comes in, we'll let them talk. Public hearing 7:10 for certain amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance for Wireless Telecommunications Facilities Ordinance. Mr. Mike Gruberman, give us the executive summary, please.
Basically, as you know, in the recent cell phone issue, we had some, I'd say, circular logic between the Unified Development Ordinance and the Wireless Facilities Ordinance that required, even though I found the application to be incomplete, our advisor found it to be incomplete, we were still forced to put it in through the process. So these changes are to correct that in both the UDO and in the Wireless Communications Ordinance, and that's it in a nutshell.
All right. Anyone here to speak on this issue on the public hearing? Didn't think so. Anybody? All right, we can close the public hearing and put it in front of the board.
I make a motion we adopt those amendments.
Second. All in favor, raise your hands. Nobody opposed? Okay. Hand me that sheet, somebody. Oh, right here. Thank you, Bob. This is public session. All of you don't come to all these meetings. This is really the opportunity for people to be heard. It's not really the opportunity to get a lot of back and forth with the board. The board's not going to take any action based upon what is at an open public session. It's not an agenda item. We do want to hear what you have to say, but we're not going to be real long about it, and we're not going to be real cumulative, but we certainly will give everybody the opportunity to be heard. Just get up and tell us who you are and what your connection is with the issue, and then Tell us why you mad. Most of them, I think, are. Lloyd, you're first.
Thank you. My name is Lloyd Cox. I'm here representing a group of people behind me here. I've got just a statement here that was written up, so to make it a little quicker. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the request of the group behind me. This group represents the majority of towing companies here in Franklin. Tonight, we would like to bring to your attention the ongoing situation regarding how towing companies are dispatched when there is an accident inside the city limits of Franklin. Over the last 2 years, the majority of us have experienced a huge drop in the amount of tow calls we receive from the 911 center in town. Over the same period of time, one particular tow company has received a large increase in their number of calls. We have obtained copies of towing dispatch records from December 4th, 2010 through February 1st, 2012. The printout shows how many calls each tow company has received during this period of time. Franklin Body Shop has received 48 calls. Drake's Towing has received 41 calls. Davis Towing has received 32 calls. Ambassador Automotive, which is our company, has received 31 calls. Marched Recovery and Collision, 25 calls. James Paint and Body, 34 calls. Nathan's Paint and Body, 76 calls. These numbers only reflect the tow calls that were issued through dispatch and does not include calls made directly to Nathan's Paint and Body by cell phone or verbal contact at the scene. You may be thinking, what's the big deal about one company getting more calls? A tow call runs about $150 minimum. The initial tow is only the beginning of most calls. The people behind me own body shops and repair shops. These calls represent the opportunity to repair the damaged vehicle. Typically, insurance companies award the repair to the shop where the vehicle is towed rather than increase the cost of the repair by paying another tow charge to have the vehicle moved to another shop. These calls represent hundreds of thousands of dollars in repairs. Dollars needed for these body shops and repair shops to provide their families and pay employees and continue doing business in Franklin. We feel that Nathan's Paint and Body is getting these calls for different reasons. He's a volunteer fireman. He is notified immediately when there's a traffic accident and many times responds to the scene of the accident either in his tow truck with his company name on it or in his service vehicle with his company name on it, giving his tow company immediate exposure to the person needing a tow truck. As a firefighter, which we commend him for being, he is automatically placed on the position of trust in the customer's eyes and easily chosen if asked if the customer has a towing company preference. As a volunteer firefighter on the scene with a tow truck, it's easier for a police officer to appoint this tow company to tow away the disabled vehicle. The scene is cleared quicker and the officer can get back to his regular duties quicker. Nathan Hersey, owner of Nathan's Paint and Body, has a brother that's also an EMT who also works as a tow truck driver for Nathan at times. Allowing a tow company owner, relative, or employee to work an accident scene puts that one towing company at advantage over the other towing companies. The customer may be approached for their business, seeing a lettering on a vehicle leading the customer to assume that this towing company is the choice for the situation. Allowing a towing company owner, relative, or employee to work an accident scene as a first responder also allows that one towing company to create friendships that may steer business in their direction. The towing companies behind me can relay accounts where their towing customers were denied the request for their tow trucks and were told their vehicle was being towed by Nathan's Paint and Body. I have a notarized statement from one of Ambassador's customers stating that he requested Ambassador Automotive and was denied that the vehicle be recovered and towed by Nathan's Paint and Body, which I do have with me if you need to see it. We also have listed accident information on police. We all have listened to accident information on police scanners where the words owner's request was never heard and were never mentioned. No towing company was called, but the vehicle or all the vehicles were towed by Nathan's Paint and Body, indicating Nathan's Paint and Body was already at the scene. We have eyewitness accounts of several occasions where Nathan's Paint and Body was at the scene of an accident, no other record company was called, and these vehicles were towed by his company. Also, after reviewing 911 records, it seems unrealistic that a driver from Georgia, South Carolina, Missouri, California would make an owner's request for Nathan's Paint and Body rather than the next rotation record. When one tow company is shown preference, it may seem harmless, but it hurts many others. victim at the scene is taken advantage of and free trade is restricted. To be replaced on rotation lists for 911, the city and the county, towing companies are informed they must meet North Carolina Highway Patrol criteria. In other words, if you're on rotation with the Highway Patrol, you can be placed on 911 record rotation with the city and county. Also, if you are removed from the Highway Patrol rotation for any reason, you are also removed from the 911 rotation. The city and the county, in essence, are using the Highway Patrol as a guide. The Highway Patrol directive states, and I have their directive right here, probably for Mr. Henry to look at, that you can't have a financial interest. I can read it here, but I'll move on. I'll give a copy of it to you. Each of our companies have made the changes to remain profitable during difficult and economic times. Expenses have been cut, prices adjusted, new marketing strategies applied, employees have been laid off, and equipment has been sold. We have one member here tonight who has sold 2 of his own records and laid off 4 of his employees, partially due to what's going on with this towing thing. We've got another company here tonight who told me today that they're making a choice as to whether to pay the power bill or pay their rent payments. They've also had to lay off help and get rid of equipment. These are difficult enough times without the hardship of losing the market share due to customers being influenced to trade with one certain tow company or authority figures manipulating a situation for a friend in the towing business. A vehicle accident is a very frightening experience if any of you have ever been in one. Even when there are no injuries, the person in the accident is upset and scared. This is not the time for an officer, firefighter, or EMT to take advantage of someone by influencing them to make a decision that profits someone they know. What we're asking tonight is that you each review the material provided and take the necessary steps to adopt and enforce an ordinance regarding towing dispatch like the North Carolina Highway Patrol, including the following. Only an officer at the scene may communicate with dispatch regarding the vehicle owner's operator's request regarding a tow company, either a specific company requested by the company or next rotation. Mandatory use of a form detailing which tow company was called for each incident. The Franklin Police Department, I believe, has one, and they're pretty good about filling it out. We also would like to prohibit a towing company owner, relatives, and employees from working or volunteering with any emergency service and operate a record too. It's a conflict of interest. This will restore the fairness and the impartiality for all. Now, I have the Highway Patrol rules right here. I believe Mr. Henning would probably be the best one to give this to. Here. And here's I also have the 911 dispatch calls right here. I've got enough of them printed out for everyone here to go through. And you can go down through there and see that if it was rotation, there wouldn't be 3 calls within 15 minutes for Nathan's paint and body if it was being rotated. There's not a sign where a lot of them don't say owner's request. They just show one right after the other going to Nathan's paint and body. We're not here to bash Nathan's paint and body. We're here to get this straightened out so everybody can get a fair share of this. Here's some letters from some of the towing companies here tonight that I would like for each one of you to read when you have time, and it expresses their concern about being able to stay in business in Macon County at the rate things are going. Now, here is the information we received from the 911 center. These first batch of right here are all requests for Nathan's paint and body. I've been in business in Franklin for 10 years in the towing business. I average 2 to 3 owner request calls a year. These are the amount of owner request calls that Nathan Paint and Body received from the December that I took the dates till now. There's nowhere, it's just not realistic that one company can get that many owners requests when you have all these other record companies out here put together don't get half of them in owner's request. Now, here's a copy of the affidavit, and I'm sure some of you gentlemen know the man who signed this. It says right here, to whom it may concern, my name is Lou Vitale. On or about July 2nd, 2010, I arrived at my apartment building as a result of an auto accident. A car had fallen off the raised parking area. I arrived while the Franklin Fire Department and Franklin Police Department were still on the scene. I asked if Ambassador Automotive could be called to perform the recovery. I was told no. We have called next rotation. About 10 or 15 minutes later, Nathan's paint body arrived at the scene. So what we're asking is that you guys would just get together, ladies and gentlemen, and come up and adopt the Highway Patrol rotation rules. And if they're followed, we won't be back here. It's very simple. The Highway Patrol has no problem when it comes to towing vehicles. If you show up at a scene uncalled for, you get reprimanded. You get reprimanded more than twice, you are taken off the Highway Patrol rotation list. They don't mess around, and that's all we're asking is the town of Franklin to adopt the same policies that the Macon County, that the North Carolina Highway Patrol passed. I believe that one other guy up here, yeah, here's what I was talking earlier, I left it right here. Here's what it says, just in two paragraphs, the Highway Patrol. No member of the patrol or any of its civilian employees shall hold any financial interest or in any form ownership interest in any record service. No member may be employed by a record service, nor shall any member be assigned to a county where any relative of the member has a financial interest in or is employed by the record service. For the purpose of this rule, the relative includes, and they got clear down, they went from mother, father, sister, brother, also included the term relatives are step, half, and in-laws relationships. It says right here, in order to perform its traffic safety functions, the patrol is required to use record services to tow disabled vehicles, seized, wrecked, or abandoned vehicles. Members of the patrol shall assure that the impartial use of record services through the strict compliance with these rules. In no event shall any patrol member recommend any record service, motor club, or automobile membership service to the owner or driver of a wrecked or disabled vehicle. Nor shall any member recommend the services of a particular record service, motor club, or automobile membership in the performance of his or her duties. Members shall, whenever possible, particularly of this and practical, dispatch the record service requested by the motorist requiring such services. I mean, it's simple. And like I said, if it can be adopted, maybe these guys, some of these people will be able to stay in business. But at the rate it's going, some of them are living week to week, whereas what we used to have was a profitable business. It's not happening anymore. I mean, my trucks have set so long that the batteries run dead end. Some people don't realize that the cost of a tow truck, if you went out and bought a new rollback, which is the flatbed that rolls back and picks up a car, the average cost is anywhere from $80,000 to $150,000. If you buy a small wrecker, which is four-wheel drive, which you need around here, if you go out and buy a new one, the average cost is $150,000. If you buy a large wrecker like I've got, or even bigger, they can run as much as anywhere from $200,000 to $1 million. And we can't stay in business when we're having this unfair treatment. I mean, we just can't do it. And that's all we're asking is someone to adopt this and treat us fairly. And I appreciate you all listening to me tonight.
Good presentation, boy.
Thank you.
Mr. Owen, somebody about like a lawyer?
Yeah. Well, like Walter, you can.
Let Walter do that? All right, come on up, Walter.
Sure enough.
Sure, why not?
I too have compiled my information from the reports that we received on Thursday and Friday. It's sort of short term, but this is some information. This is what I've come to speak about. Let's have a graph on it. Third page. View of it. I'm here to represent my business, Walter Hunter, Franklin Body Shop. Been in business for 42 years in Franklin. I'm here tonight because there is a problem with the assignment of rotation calls for towing in Franklin. I'm here before the board is not because of any conflict or vendetta, no personal feelings. I'm been in business at the body shop for that long, 42 years. I find myself in a position of losing business, not because of any wrongdoing on my part, But in my opinion, because of the actions of Nathan Theresa, owner of Nathan's Painting Body and Towing Service, while he serves in the capacity of a volunteer fireman and a tow truck operator. Nathan was employed at my shop for several years before he went into business for himself. Nathan left without any hard feelings on either side, and I have continued to have a professional friendship with him since he left. As far as I know, we're still on good terms professionally with each other. Customarily, towing services are called to the accident on a rotation basis. This procedure allows every regular opportunity to earn a living. The exception is when the vehicle's owner requests a particular service. Each owner, of course, has regular customers request their towing service. Those who have no preference are referred to the next company in rotation. North Carolina Highway Patrol is very impartial, always using the rotation method. In my opinion, Nathan's association with the fire department, Franklin Fire Department, as volunteer, has led to him being able to solicit business at the scene of the accident. When an accident occurs, volunteer firemen appear, who also owns the towing service. It's only natural for the people involved in that accident to be easily persuaded to use Nathan's towing service rather than call for the next rotation tow truck. I understand the association Nathan has with the firemen. Nathan's made many friends. This friendship leads me to conclude that the drivers from Tupelo, Mississippi, Cummins, Georgia, Valley Park, Missouri would not have had the owner's request for Nathan's towing service unless someone had seen of the accident that suggested. The financial ramifications of this action affects my business more than just meaning losing a $150 tow call. My company has potential to make money from the storage of the vehicles as well as making repairs on the wrecked vehicles. Each towing company is worth each towing service is worth a minimum of $150 up to a maximum of several $1,000s. Some of the accidents run $10,000. Some of them run $20,000. And one in Macon County is over $30,000 last year. That's a lot of money. The 8 people that I employ and their families depend on my company to get a fire shake. I personally know 2 incidents involving the fire department when Nathan responded as a fireman and ended up towing without a dispatch call for his tow truck. This could only happen if he has solicited the towing for himself because he is already there as a fireman, or if a police or fire department person in charge okayed the towing. There are 2 blank reports and no CAD reports on these incidents. There's no information on them that he towed the vehicles. The accidents took place July 18th and October 1st of last year. If my tow truck had not also responded to these accidents, I would have no knowledge of this, since there is no paper trail to follow. There's high probability that this has happened many more times. As I researched and compiled the data I received on last Thursday and Friday from the dispatch office, I became very aware there's no obvious explanation for the skewed distribution of tow calls unless there is involvement for other sources. If there is a problem with any towing service that results in reluctance to use that company, those concerns should be addressed with individual company. Perceived problems should not be used as an excuse to give any company an unfair advantage. The only solution to this problem is use the rotation method strictly and fairly. Also, since I believe there is obvious a conflict of interest, I think Nathan should only respond to the accidents as a fireman or as a tow truck operator who waits on a dispatch call. He should not be allowed to serve both capacities. He's been known to go to an accident as a fireman and leave towing both the vehicles. Please think on these issues and make a decision that levels the playing field and is fair for all involved. Please let me know your decision.
Thank you, Walt. Thank you. I've got some names here. Keith,
I let Lord take my time.
Mark,
Same thing.
Lyman, something Smith, Dave's towing, Davis Cohen.
David Stone, I gave Lloyd and Walter my time too.
All
I
right.
agree with you.
Anybody else, or what, has two of the elder statesmen in the business spoken it well for the group?
That's right.
Okay, hate not to give it any attention off, but we're here, we're all here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Mr. Cox,
Yes, sir.
you and I have talked about this before.
Right.
I looked into it.
Mm-hmm.
All the allegations tonight have been made towards the town.
Yeah, we've got a meeting.
I went through, I just found out about this. I went through all the calls, and quite a few were made by sheriff's deputies. How do you answer to that?
We're going to meet with the county commissioners next Tuesday night.
All right, good.
We need to be.
Because I don't like to be singled out.
You're not being singled out. All of us are being.
I felt like it tonight.
No, no.
Okay,
no,
I'm
no.
glad to hear that.
No, we're not, no, we have a meeting also with the county commissioners, and if you saw Channel 13 tonight.
I did.
Okay, did you see where Robbie Holland denied knowing anything about this?
I did, and I didn't see that the news
He didn't
media,
deny, he's here, he can defend himself.
I did not see any indication, and I called WLS
Mhm.
and said there may be another side to this story.
Mhm.
They made no attempt to get back with me.
Well,
It was an
they left,
unbalanced story.
they left
Again.
our place and Nate gave Nathan Hersey the opportunity to speak to them. Evidently, he declined.
All right.
We, all of us sitting back here, have the proof that we brought to you tonight that this is happening.
And I want to look at that. I've looked at some of it, but I only had about an hour to look into it today.
Well, we're not gonna take any action about it.
I know, but I'm going to make a motion that we do.
Well,
That's what we're asking for.
Not tonight.
Mhm. No, I know
But there
that.
have been some serious allegations thrown around tonight.
And these allegations we have supplied you all with proof of it tonight.
And we have not had an opportunity to
Right.
see it yet.
Right.
And I want an opportunity
Well,
to see it.
Mr. Henning has got it, I believe I've seen it, he's got, but I mean, you can see right on these calls that came from the 911 dispatch, where Nathan's Paint and Body was called owner's request. We tried to get a hold of these people, that most of them that said owner's request, no phone numbers existed, or the addresses that were given on the dispatch, these people were not even at that
Well,
address.
one of the forms that you just gave me,
Lula Tower.
or that you gave us, does not say what officers called. It's this right here.
No, but what Mr. Henning's got.
And
does.
those are screen captures.
Yes, those are the cabs.
That's correct.
I believe,
Screen
Todd,
captures.
I think there's someone here from 911 Dispatch that could probably explain to you what those are.
Well, I've looked at it.
Okay.
I've looked at it.
fair enough. Who else? Robbie, yeah, go ahead. Talk to us.
Okay, I'll try to be brief.
Sheriff Holland, for those you don't know.
First of all, I'd like to apologize that this has been brought to your attention. It's something that I think that the chief, as well as myself and the fire chief, could have addressed. Back in end of 2009, I was made aware of problems that were going on through the rumor mill. And Mr. Scott, I couldn't agree with you more tonight. Believe that or not, I can't agree with you more.
I don't.
Secondly, it was brought to my attention through the rumor mill. I tried to address it through the rumor mill. I finally had some individuals who were tow companies contact me, brought it to my attention. As far as I'm concerned, concrete. I started looking into it. We implemented a new policy. I sent out a letter to a couple of those individuals, and I also spoke with some of the other tow companies and let them know of the new policy and let them know about the letter that I'd sent. In that letter, it specifically says, this issue has been addressed. We implemented a new policy. From this point forward, if there's any other concerns, you have any other complaints, please bring it to my attention. I cannot fix it unless I know about it. Friday afternoon, I heard through the rumor mill again that there was an ongoing problem through one of our county commissioners. Got a phone call that he was going to be coming to this meeting today to complain about the town, about the fire department, the police department, as well as the sheriff's department. That's the first knowledge that I have. As a professional in our community, if I have a problem with anybody in your establishment within the town, I'm going to go to them and I'm going to give them the opportunity to sit down with me and discuss that. The only thing that I will close with tonight, I apologize that I was on WLOS about the record service. They came to me about a murder-suicide. During that interview, they popped the question about Lloyd had called us, we're fixing to go with him, what can you tell us about the records? I will be happy to meet with you as I have told you in the past. You have seen me plenty of times in restaurants, as well as some of the others. My phone number is in the phone book. You know where my office is. I welcome you or anybody else that's in the record business. If you have a problem, please contact me, and we will try to address it and try to fix it. I can't agree with some of the things more than what you said. I have the utmost respect for Nathan as well as many of the other tow truck drivers. There's none of you in here that I have more respect for than Walter Hunter. He's been in business a long time. And we had a meeting because of the rumor mill, simply because of the rumor mill, and I had no concrete evidence to go on. I had a meeting this afternoon with all of my command staff, my patrol sergeants, my lieutenant, my supervisors, my corporals, my FTOs, and Mr. Hunter was one of the individuals that I said that it's not fair if this is happening. I don't know if this is happening until I'm able to look into it and to address it. My point is this: I will be happy to look into it. I will be happy to report back to you, just as your police chief would or your fire chief would. If I have been given the opportunity to look into it, I will be more than happy to. All they have to do is bring it to my attention, and I will do so.
Don't all the departments need to be on the same page on this?
Absolutely. I mean, to make things easy, that's how it should be. When it comes right down to it, Mr. Mayor, I do not have to follow the Highway Patrol's policy. The only reason that I have tried to follow that policy, and I've requested my officers and demanded my officers to follow that policy, is because I think it's the ethically correct thing to do and the right thing to do for all the businesses. And that's what we have tried to do. Until Friday afternoon, I knew of no problems, because I made it very clear to not all the record service, the ones that were complaining before. So I apologize to the other ones that may be here complaining tonight, because I never had an opportunity to talk with them, because I knew of no problem. The ones that we had a problem with before, I have either spoken to or they have received my letter.
Good.
I've just got one question I would like to ask Robbie here in front of everybody.
Just make it brief.
Okay, it's just what it's, do you feel like it's ethical for you to endorse one certain record company on your Facebook where you endorse
Wait,
Nathan's?
we're not going there.
I just wanted to ask that question.
We're not going there. No, we're not here for that tonight.
I think it's a valid question.
Okay, I'd like to answer that. I'd like to answer that, but it's
This
simply.
is not town business. This is not
I
town
beg your
business, right?
pardon, we've had allegations made against the town tonight, serious allegations.
I don't sense that they think the town is really doing anything mentally wrong. I think they're saying we're letting the situation kind of that we didn't really don't have any real reason to know much about. They're saying possibly the situation is there that we might can remedy it. They're not saying that we were directing people to Nathan or anybody else. They're not saying we were telling the dispatcher to change it. They're just telling us as a
Well,
situation.
for the record, the Franklin Police Department does go
Is there
by
an
the
endorsement on
rules.
Facebook? Do you have an endorsement on your Facebook?
No, what it is it's a page just like many businesses, some of your businesses here, that they have a Facebook page and it says like. It just says like. And then that's something that you like. You like Nathan's Tow.
You have
And
private
absolutely.
businesses on your
That's-
Facebook?
I have several private businesses.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's- Okay. All right. Sam, what do we need to be doing on this one?
Go to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you all.
I would tell you that I personally will see that we get, hopefully, the chief of police and the fire chief and whoever we need to, because if there is an imbalance there that we can work on, then we're gonna do it.
And we have been continually talking with the fire chief, and I haven't personally spoken to Mr. Bradley, but I have personally spoken to Danny Bates, I think it's the assistant chief,
Okay.
recently, within the last few months,
All right.
about different situations. And I mean, we have all called and complained to everybody numerous times, including Robbie. I mean,
And you handled yourself well tonight. I appreciate you coming in. We're gonna be at recess about 2 minutes. That way if you slip out, you won't be embarrassing each other.
Madam Chairman, I just would like to make a statement before I leave.
Well,
My
certainly.
name is Gina. My husband,
Yeah, your
Brad, and
name's
I
in.
own Drake's Towing. Okay, all we do is tow. We run a U-Haul company, which gives us like a 10% commission
on a U-Haul, but all we do is tow. Our numbers have been turned in, you can see the incredible loss that we've had. Our house is on the market, we have had to sell equipment. We're doing all we can to keep alive, but it's being destroyed. The company has been in business in this area since 1989, and it's always thrived. But in the past 2 years, we've had such a terrible downslide in our calls. And it's not like we rely on this 100%. It's like a lawn mowing job. You do it on the side, it's extra income, it comes in. Every little bit helps in the economic situation that's going on right now. But all we do is tow. We have no facility to repair a car, no body shop, anything like that. We tow for a living. This is hurting us bad. And I thank you for your time this evening. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
Howell, are you through eating our food and drinking our coffee?
I have paid for it. Come and talk back here.
No, get on up here. We ain't gonna take it easy on you. I figured that you was the only one on here signed up to talk about something other than wrecking and towing.
Dan, how you doing?
Don't be in charge.
And,
Pretty
Jack,
good.
you got a new hairstyle over there. Thank you. You looking good, dog. I got a question.
John has to do with you.
Respect of your work.
John got to
Cut the banner, okay? Howell's talking.
Does the town have any rules or regulations
No.
against a street legal golf cart?
If it's street legal, can you put a North Carolina tag on it?
Yeah.
North Carolina will give you a tag for the.
If it's street legal, you can do it.
I don't think
Well, I've been
so.
told
That
that.
has
I've
to
been
be
told that.
approved, that has to be sent to the state before one can be made legal. That the board would have to send it to the state for legislature approval to have golf carts on the streets.
Okay, now, do they not have them in Highland? I've been told that they do.
I don't know if we do, they're doing
We have three. EMS has got one, fire department, somebody else has got one. But we had to get an act by the legislature to allow them, but we still can't put a tag on them. But what I need to know is what is your, and Steve might can fill in here, and Ferrell, what is your definition of street legal?
Brakes, lights,
Turn signals?
turn signals, seat belts, just like a car. Nothing.
I defer to the resident expert.
Where's it at?
Right in there.
Oh, please, I apologize, ma'am. I didn't vote for it. Go ahead.
I think the state has a broad classification, and it doesn't, they don't look at lights, turn signals, it's a classified vehicle. If it falls in a certain class, you have to have the special paperwork to get it registered.
I think it has to serve a public purpose.
You think about buying one?
Yeah.
Well, then if you buy from a reputable place, I could probably tell you what the rules are.
Well, I've tried that before. It wasn't, it was in the budget. We got
Okay.
several different things.
I think it's a good idea in town.
Yeah, I do too.
To do that. I think it would slow the traffic, but I looked into it one time before, and it does take legislative approval.
There's a place in Barnesville, Georgia, inside the city limits, and I use a lot of state roads. They are in place for them, and it's pretty good.
Okay.
And these things will do over 20 miles an hour.
There's an interesting thing about that on the Forest Service roads.
Right.
People bring them in from other states where they're licensed, and they can run them on the Forest Service roads, but we can't run any the same type vehicles because North Carolina will not issue a license plate to a car. I'm talking about ATVs and things like that.
You can have 5 old mopeds with no tag, no insurance.
That's correct.
You can do it,
You can
so.
carry this discussion out.
May I'll sit down, thank you.
Yeah.
Dan, you got anything you want to say about it? Okay.
All right. Number 10, resolutions to adopt a schedule of tax discounts. In other words, no more discounts, is that what it is?
Well, Mr. Mayor, what you have in front of you, although it does say to adopt a schedule of tax discounts, it really should read to repeal the schedule of tax discounts. And it merely is just just an opportunity for the board to consider whether it wants to continue with the scheduled tax discounts that it's had in the past. You're not required to adopt it again. Once it's been adopted and in place, which the board did about this time last year, you don't have to do it again. But I think based on some experience of your staff, and I have the numbers here if the board's interested in reviewing what those discounts are amounting to each year. If nothing else, well, for this past year's taxes, it was $11,331.58. Was given in discounts. I would recommend to the board that you make a practice of reviewing it periodically, yearly maybe, to consider whether or not you really want to keep it in place.
What's the downside? I mean, is it burdensome accounting wise?
Terribly so.
Oh,
It's hard to handle administratively, and it's really not worth the candle, especially with interest rates hovering near zero on return on your investment. So it's, I'll have to disagree slightly with council in the fact that it's not something you can plug in one year and then resurrect next year and go away. Pretty much you should consider that if you abolish it, it needs to go away permanently. And that's what I recommend to the board. It's just it's an administrative headache.
No,
It's certainly not worth the $11,000.
I didn't mean to suggest that you bring it back on a year-to-year basis.
I know.
It's just that if you're gonna keep it in place this year, you wanna keep a tab on it and consider whether you.
We've kept tabs on it. And our discussion, because the enabling resolutions got lost in Raleigh, which was the last time we brought it up, that probably would have been a better time to eliminate it. We have to have it done before, March 31st? Yes. So that's what I'm recommending, that the board abolish it.
So we got a little bit of time before the meeting, but I don't know.
Are these the discounts we get for paying early and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
That's it.
Well, we talked about this once before, in the meeting, it's been talked about, and I kind of agree with Sam, even though, everybody appreciates getting a little bit of discount off. It might have meant $25 to me, but it is a lot of headaches in accounting. And I'd recommend, make a motion to that we just rescind the policy.
It says the east side over here. Sis, you quiet. Yeah. I know. Yeah, we just always have.
Long ago, it was designed to encourage people to pay their taxes early, and that's it. That's the only reason.
Yeah, we get the money, hold their money for a little bit longer, presumably make them.
And that way, if we get through the interest rate, make a little money off, make more money
Off getting that money.
than you did off the discount. But now, interest rates are so low, and everybody waits till.
Well, the vast, I think the vast majority of people escrow through their bank, and the bank makes the payment on the last,
Sure.
last possible.
It's just, probably a relic, probably soon to be a relic of the past. I'm hearing around here.
Once it's done, you can always.
They'll never look at it again.
Tomorrow,
What's the Widow Women on Hillcrest Circle gonna say? What are the Widow Women gonna say? We don't get the, is it 1%, 2%, what is this?
2% declines to 1% in August. There's no.
2% lacks only like 2%.
So do we have a motion in a second on it? Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. That passes. Reappointment of Candy Presley as chairman of the TDA board. Mike Rubin, that's your name beside it.
Basically, it's as I wrote in the memo, her term is up, and the TDA board voted to, she's interested in continuing, and the TDA board voted to recommend her reappointment.
Mr. Bruder, question.
Yes, sir.
I understand that we have a couple of people that are up for reappointment.
Not
very
until
soon.
not until April.
Okay, and there's no, Councilman, there's no limit to how many people we can have on the TDA as long as we meet a certain percentage of hotel owners?
Statute says 9 people, and we have that.
We're limited to 9 people? That's what the ordinance says?
State statute limits it to 9. And we have 9.
Granted the authority to the town and the limitation.
So how many people do we have on there now?
9. There are 9 people currently on it.
And 2 coming up for reappointment.
April.
I have talked to someone that is interested in serving and said he will serve. I emailed all the board who this person is, but we are limited to 9 people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not in the ordinance.
Yes, it
It's
is.
in the state statutes, but not in our ordinance.
We copied that into our ordinance.
TDA, now we select the chair, right?
We select all members as a result of a resolution.
You appoint the director directly.
We passed a resolution that all appointments to boards, commissions, and authorities would be run through this board. Janet, is that not what we passed?
I believe so, John probably knows better than me.
Well, are you referring to the?
We're here to talk about the reappointment
All right.
of Candy Presley as the chairman
Okay, I
of the
won't
TDA.
bring up any of my concerns about the TDA again tonight.
Okay, what says the board about reappointing her as
I
chairman?
make a motion, I think she's done a good job. Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay. Funds from sale of surplus property. Sam?
Okay, first of all, let me go ahead and pass this out to everybody. Shows that since we started using, if you take that and pass it around, please. Since we started using the .gov surplus disposal method, we have gathered so far a little over $35,000 in sales of surplus town property, which is pretty good considering the amount of overhead that we don't have to pay anymore for such things as auctions and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly is a benefit because it prevents surplus equipment from piling up, weeds growing around it, and that sort of thing. As part of this, you'll notice on the sheet, and everybody gets a copy of it, that we've received a little over $7,000 in sales of assets that were from the general fund. And one of the things that we would like to do is to take about half of that, $3,500, to apply for use in the police department to round out the purchasing of onboard computers for the patrol vehicles. We initially had funds to do 6. The next 6 will run about another $7,000, and we just wanted to apply half of the $3,500 cost, or the $7,000 cost from surplus.
You need 35,000.
That's
Where's 35?
General fund.
The general fund,
Okay.
yeah, 3,500 from the general fund allocation, yeah. Now, of course, the other from the fire and solid waste, or excuse me, the water and sewer need to go back to those funds. Probably use that next year's budget.
Well, it sounds like a reasonable motion request. What would a motion say?
It was actually to approve the use of $3,500 in proceeds from the sale of surplus property to be applied on a matching basis for use by the town police department to purchase equipment.
The other money is already in the town police department budget. Motion to that effect?
So make that motion.
Motion and second over here, Bob. Berlin, any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. That's passed. All right, how about the sewer plant renovation? Sam, keep going.
Okay, you will see attached certified bid tab on the bids on the sewer plant renovation. Low bid was, Hickory Construction. When the bids came in, it exceeded, the lowest bid exceeded the amount of funds available from a loan from the state that we have already qualified for by approximately $1 million. So what we did was two things. We got back to the state agency and requested an upping in the loan authority, which they granted to us and is currently scheduled under the LGC calendar for this month, which will be next Tuesday. What we also did was to go back and trim the operating budget, cutting the contingency, which was figured at 10% of the project, to half of that. So it's, you notice it's considerably reduced. After we went through and looked at the project itself, under the guise of coming back to cut the budget back to match what the original bid was without requesting additional funds, it became readily apparent that to get in deep enough to the budget to make a substantial enough change, in other words, to do a cost reduction after negotiating with Hickory to achieve that, that we would be substantially short-changing the scope of the project. So that in other words, down the road, probably sooner rather than later, the town would come up suffering for some of the cuts that would have to be made now to make the project work within the original budget. To give you an example, the largest particular item to gain the reduction would have been reducing the size of the equalization basis from 1.5 million down to 900,000 gallons. The fact of that would be that in the future, given the way things go, if the town had to at some point come back and, because our flow was exceeding the 900,000 gallons, you're talking about a doubly or triply expensive process to get back up to the 1.5 million. Long shortened is that it would savage the project to the point where the town would be shortchanging itself, probably in the near future, which is why we went with the aspect of seeing if we could increase the loan authorization, which the state agency has done, sufficient to balance out the difference along with us cutting the contingency. So what I'm asking tonight is contingent on the LGC approval for the extension or raising of the loan limit, that we go ahead and set up to award to Hickory Construction in the amount of the bid specified.
What do you say, guys?
Well, you know, the lowest bidder or not the first time. Of course,
Yeah, we know about these folks.
Hickory Construction has, they've passed the vetting test. They have a good track record, both from state agency reviews as well as from the engineering assessment of the bid. Everything balances out against the test.
So the track record.
Yes.
And the total bid, that's with the 1.2 million gallon basin.
1.5.
1.5 million.
It's the specified size.
$5,498,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Who gets the closing fees? John Henning get that $107,000?
Actually, the state does.
Well, I'll be happy to.
Just checking.
Yes, the state is turning itself into quite a moneymaker for their own benefit, as we the citizens will continue to note in the near future.
I make the motions.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can you get something out of that one, Jenna?
An award to Hickory Construction.
Award to Hickory Construction.
Contingent on LGC approval.
Second.
So Roland's got a motion, Joyce has got a second. Got further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Good. Okay. Audit contract with Martin Starnes. Keep creeping up on us, but we keep saying okay.
Yeah, there's an increase of $800, went from $30,700 to $31,500.
You like it?
Yeah, they seem to do a good job. They get it in there.
You get some of that?
No, I don't get any. That's what you did.
Do get complimentary pencils every once in a while.
They seem to know what to do.
Martin Starnes has an excellent reputation statewide through the local government commission as well for the quality of the reports. The town has been significantly better off since we switched on.
Sounds like, noted if you could make one, but you can't. Joyce, you got a motion there?
Sir, I make a motion that we accept it. On with
Second. Any discussion, all in favor, raise your hand. All righty, getting low on stuff on the paper, but you know, we always like to see if anybody's got something to.
I think everybody's gotten notice of the training sessions for the new equipment. I would like to say drinks and hors d'oeuvres will be served, but that's not quite the case. Other thing, I have one announcement that today we arrived at a conclusion with a job offer to David Adams, who's currently a captain of the Hendersonville Police Department, to become the new chief of the Franklin Police Department. And he's agreed to the offer and to start March the 5th.
Great, that's great news. Quiet tonight?
Good job.
Motion to adjourn?
Sir.
What?
I was asked to bring this up at the meeting. I know how Sam loves to have a little extra. But just quick, it's just gonna be quick.
Ferrell, break it out.
It was asked if we would re-look at opening Bidwell Street, making it two-way the whole way, instead of what it is, one way.
That was Woodley's deal, wasn't it?
Because a lot of those people
I
are
think
now
that was
gone,
Woodley.
complained about it and whatever, and I constantly see people late at night turning down that street anyhow. Constantly, I mean, and I don't know.
I think we would have to just get a lot of heavy direction from our police department
That would be
as
fine.
to whether they would believe it'd be a public safety.
But I was asked to please bring it up,
Okay.
and I have.
Gotta reconstruct the
It's
corner.
two-way halfway, right?
Yeah, it's just
Halfway,
halfway.
it's two-way halfway.
It's two-way halfway.
Two-way halfway.
It's awkward.
Just cut off at the sunset.
Yes.
That's the way they asked for it. One's on the north side, it's on one way, one's.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and it seems to work, you know.
Except we have some people on.
It's awkward though. I don't know why we don't have Macon Avenue return two-way there, or whatever. Macon, yeah, the one that's by your office. That's awkward. I still turn around, go on up there anyway.
Don't tell everybody.
Okay, okay.
Make a note of that.
Yeah, I know it was. He stole it. Back when it was with the county, he stole it from them. Anything else?
Legalize golf carts.
Going once? No other meeting this month until we need one, Sam?
Special meeting may be called.
Nothing right now?
Call it.
All right. What's going on?
Golf carts.
Well, they had